So you want to know exactly what mod to use on your armor whenever you need more survivability, or you need to heal, or you need your melee back quicker. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is there are patterns in the way mods are made in Destiny 2, so it's easy to know what 2% of mods will give you what you want. But the bad news is that 2% is about 10 different mods. But don't worry, I'll be telling you which mods work better for which scenarios here, so it's a little bit easier for you to choose, and hopefully the more you use these mods, you'll be able to make your own decisions on what mods you like based on your own playstyle. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to talk about is stats, which is your discipline, mobility, and things like that. These are very important because maxing out one of these stats can create a big change in how you fight in Destiny 2. The first mod slot I'll talk about is the stat mod slots, which you could use to increase the different stats on your character. And I'm going to show you a list of the stats, so Warlock, Hunter, and Titan, so you know which one is more relevant for each class. For all characters, I think class ability is very important, maybe a little less on the Titan, but for each class, the class ability cooldown is tied to a different stat, so I'll put mobility on top for the Hunter, recovery on top for the Warlock, and resilience on top for the Titan. Next thing is survivability. Recovery is the most important stat when it comes to survivability. We always have this as a priority for all three classes, but since we already have recovery for Warlock, we can add some resilience as well on the Warlock end. Next thing in the current meta that's very important is grenade energy. I'll put this next for all three characters, which sums up to the big three for all three characters according to their importance. The other three stats can be personal preference depending on what exotics and playstyle you have, but from Warlock, Hunter, and Titan, this is what I always use on my characters. Now that you know what stats are better, slap on those mods in the first slot to get as much of the best stats as possible. I'm also going to be making another video soon on letting you know what kind of armor is good armor, you know, what armor you should keep so you can actually make the builds that you want to make, because it's one thing for me to tell you that these are the best stats, but if you don't have the armor to be able to make those builds, it wouldn't work out. There are three kind of mods in this section. So you've got the ones that help with your weapons, the ones that protect you from a specific type of damage, or the ones that give you ability energy. The first part is simple. If you want to use a grenade launcher, for example, use a grenade launcher finder or scavenger or unflinching, just whatever mod you feel will help you improve your experience with that weapon. Also, you could use mods to make your own weapons create orbs, but there are other mods that are more important when it comes to the affinity. So unless the affinity of your armor already matches your weapon, this is not really a priority. Each type of mod is placed on a specific piece of armor, so these are all the mods and what armor piece has what type of mod. So every armor piece, like the helmet, always has a specific kind of advantage it provides to your weapons. Gauntlets have a different one. So when we were talking about patterns from the beginning, that's what these armor pieces have in common. Bungie keeps it simple where there's only a specific kind of armor mod that you can put on a specific piece. Next up, we have enemy damage. These are only on the chest piece, so if the enemies are doing void damage and you want to take less damage, put on a void chest piece and use void resist. If they do arc, use arc resist. If they're snipers, you could use sniper resist, and so on. There's all kind of enemy damage, so you can switch them up when you face different enemies. Next ones we're going to talk about are the ones that affect ability regeneration. I'm going to split this one into two parts, the ones that appear on each armor piece and the ones that appear on each affinity. There's a simple rule of thumb. Arc usually deals with melee, Solar usually deals with grenade and healing, and Void usually deals with class ability and overshield. That makes it really simple, right? So if you're looking for something, you know what affinity to look for it on. If you want your melee quicker, use some arc armor. You want your grenade energy quicker, use some solar armor. The one spoiler to this is there is a new mod that just seems better than this idea, and it is called Kickstart. Bungie introduced stasis affinity armor pieces, and with that it came with grenade, melee, and utility kickstart. This basically gives you 50% of your ability back whenever you use it in just about 4 to 5 seconds. So this means if you really want your grenade and you're already running 100 discipline and you add grenade kickstart to it, you get your grenade back insanely fast. So this throws away almost all the other generic mods unless you're stuck with a different affinity and you can actually use a stasis piece to be able to get the kickstart mod. The other two mods I talked about were for healing and overshield, but since you already invest a lot into resilience and recov, you also don't need these mods, and these create some space for the last set of mods we haven't discussed yet. Before we move on to the next set of mods, I want to mention the finisher mods. These are really good in high level activities, so if you struggle with finding ammo after putting finders on your armor because you aren't killing enough enemies like you would in like a strike, then you could run special ammo finisher on your class item as well. The last set of mods are the combat style mods, and these are the charge with light mods, for example. For the sake of this video, we're going to only talk about charge with light and elemental wells because I think Warmind cells are... So I want to start by explaining one key thing about these mods. There are two types of these mods, those that create charges or wells and those that make use of them. Starting with charge with light, there are 13 ways to get charge with light. There are 6 which give charge with light on multi-kills from your weapons depending on what weapon you're using, and the other ones are more unique than that. If you have the affinity to use one of the multi-kill charge with light mods, then go for it, but if you can't, I think the best 4 mods are elemental charge, charge harvester, powerful friends, and radiant light for damage phases. This will make you charge with light more often because they happen multiple times while you play and are better in higher level content without a lot of shields. If you have a lot of shields though in the activity that you're doing, shield break charge is also a good peak there. I didn't mention taking charge because it's no longer a top tier mod in my book, because like I said before, orb generation is no longer a priority, and if you don't choose that from one of the other slots, then you're not gonna have the orbs to be able to use the other mods. In terms of elemental charge, you'll need to make an elemental well using another mod, but there will be more on that when we get to elemental mods. Now, what are the best mods for using charge with light? My favorite ones are high energy fire, which is good for DPS when you aren't using a well of radiance, bubble, or banner shield, and protective light, which gives you damage resistance when you're weak. Heavy-handed also is a really good one because it gives you 50% of your melee energy back when you are charged with light and you use your melee. So like melee kickstart, for example, if you're not able to use that because you don't have a stasis piece, you can use this to get 50% of your melee energy instantly. Now let's talk about elemental wells, because Destiny gameplay has changed a lot since these mods were introduced. At first they felt like they would require a lot of work to use, but as people noticed what the benefits that you could get from it was, more people started being receptive to it. Now, unlike charge with light, you can create different wells, as in arc, solar, void, and stasis, and each well can be used in very specific ways, and this is where the work comes in. For example, if I want grenade regeneration from my wells, only solar wells can be used to regenerate my grenades, and for me to make solar wells, I would need to either use a solar weapon or a solar subclass. The intrinsic perk on elemental wells is you always get ability regen when you pick up a well, a little bump, but it's nothing like what you would get if it was matching and you were using the right mod. One thing that's really helped with these mods are the extra mods that Bungie keeps putting in on the artifact, like Fire and Ice and Volatile Flow that we have currently. So different ways to create the wells and different ways to use the wells, because without these, elemental wells just seem really constrained and you're forced to use a lot of specific mods, weapons, and subclasses just to be able to produce the right amount of use you want to get out of it. Another problem that I find with elemental wells is, unlike charge with light, where you get charge with light as soon as you perform the action, with elemental wells, when you do something to create a well, the well spawns on the enemies, and if you're in difficult content where you can't go get it, you're gonna have to use another mod to be able to bring the wells closer to you. With all that said, I know it seems like I don't like these mods, but they do actually work really fantastic. I'm gonna share with you guys some of my favorite well mods. I like to use the melee well maker mod, which with melee kills give you wells that match your subclass. There's also elemental armaments, which allows your weapon, if it matches your subclass, to make wells. Elemental Ordnance also creates elemental wells from your grenade kills, and Reaping Wellmaker, that's one of the ones most people are using right now, where if you use your class ability, your next kill guarantees you a well that is going to be void. In terms of using the wells, there's a mod called Elemental Time Dilation. Basically what this does is it allows the benefit that you get from the wells to last a little bit longer. There's also a well mod called Bountiful Wells, which allows you to generate more than just one elemental well when you perform any of the actions or use one of the mods that generate the wells. My top two ways without a doubt to use the elemental well mods are Well of Tenacity and Font of Might. Well of Tenacity, basically for picking up a void well, you get some damage resistance for a set amount of time, and for Font of Might, for some time you get increased damage to the weapon that matches your subclass or the elemental well that you picked up. Alright, so we've talked a lot about, what mods I like, what mods I think are useful and things like that. I thought I'd show you some of the ways that I combine these combat style mods. If you want to pause and take a look, you can do that. I know I didn't talk much about the artifact mods today, but those keep changing each season and are easier to find and read when you're about to unlock them. So if you see one that you like and fits into your build, you can just take one thing out and put it in. Sometimes Bungie also gives the same well mods that you currently have but cost cheaper when you use them from the artifact. So there's different things you can do with those, but like I said, they do change, so depending on when you're watching this video, some of the artifact mods might not be relevant. So that's it from me for this video. I know, like I said before, some people just want to have a straightforward way of figuring out what these mods do and how they work, and with the way Bungie has things set up right now, it's a little bit more difficult to figure out where you should be looking for what. So hopefully this video helped you understand it a little bit better and saves you some time the next time you're trying to make a build. If you have any more questions about builds or about mods, you can leave that in the comment section below and I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I can. Also, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and if you hit the notification bell as well, the next time I release a video, you'll get notified so you can check it out. Thank you guys for all the support. I'll see you on the next one.
Next week.
Peace.
Holy. Mario, you're making your way back up.
Oh my god, zombie, why are you moving so much? No, I'm playing.